Let me tell you about this ghost story. In 1869, Buffalo was selected as the site for the mental health asylum to serve Western New York. 203 acres of land was allocated for this facility, which consisted of 13 buildings, totaling 700,000 square feet. Its construction commenced in 1872. The first patients were admitted to the newly finished wards in 1880. The asylum was fully completed in 1896, with the main buildings remaining in operation until 1974. In 1986, the Richardson Olmsted campus was designated as a National Historic Landmark. Richardson was chief architect of the Buffalo State Asylum for the Insane. It was one of his earliest projects and was the largest commission of his career. It's no secret that mental health asylums aren't exactly places of comfort and joy. Although Dr. Thomas Kirkbride had a different approach to asylum care, laying the groundwork for asylums across America in the 19th century. Kirkbride prescribed a harmonious relationship between nature and man, green space, sunlight, and routine exercise. Patient rooms were 11 feet deep by 9 feet wide and would include just one single bed. The common areas were spacious, bright, and filled with sunlight, designed intentionally to encourage patients to spend time outside their rooms. Ward corridors were to be at least 12 feet wide. Kirkbride insisted the maximum number of patients to be around 250, but the Buffalo State Asylum increased that number to 600. The connection between buildings were rounded, lined with windows, and full of sunlight. By 1940, the facility, originally designed for 600 patients, had nearly 4,000 individuals. I know what you're thinking. Those look like cages. And they are. They had to give patients access to sunlight and fresh air while keeping them contained and safe. The same people who would say that the cages were inhumane were the same people complaining about the patients wandering into their city. The asylum was also criticized for having bars on the windows. Many patients would be suicidal, and the bars were added to the windows for patient safety. Electroconvulsive therapy took place in the basement, with screams echoing in the hallways where patients waited their turn. In a century, only 5 cases of patient abuse have come to light, with the last patient departing in 1971.
When he returned back to Utica, he was in his office at the Utica Asylum. A gentleman walked up the front steps, entered the institution, walked to his office, lifted a revolver, and shot him point blank in the face. Bullet passed through his cheek, one cheek, and out the other. Dr. Kirkbride similarly was at the Philadelphia Hospital. He one day was in his home, his residence on the campus, and his son called him outside because he said there was a man sitting in a tree. When he came outside, Dr. Kirkbride recognized the man in the tree as a former patient. He turned and walked away, and as he turned and walked away, the man fired and hit him in the back of the head. A bullet lodged in the brim of his hat. Did not penetrate his skull, fortunately. And he was sent to the Eastern State Penitentiary, where he lived out the rest of his life. This was dangerous work. Very, very dangerous work for these guys. I mean, this is not a job or a vocation that you went into hoping to get rich. You did it because you genuinely cared for people. And these two gentlemen, these two physicians, came close to losing their lives in the care and the service of these patients. If you were here in 1895, you would hear the rumble of carts in Milton.
We were having a conversation and she said, "How are your tours going?" And I said, "They're going really great. And I was just there last weekend." And she was like, "Have you been in the dungeon yet?" And I was like, the basement? And she said, yeah, it's awful down there. And I was like, yeah, it's not my favorite place to go, but yes, I've been down there. And she's like, well, you know, they used to do electroshock down there. And I said, no, there were no patients allowed in the basement. And she said, oh yes, I did my psych rotation here. And she remembers patients being lined up in gurneys against the walls and going in for electroshock, unmedicated. She remembers the screams, and she remembers them getting wheeled back to their rooms. And I said, are you positive it's this building? And she said, I am almost 110%. So I showed her some pictures. I said, would that help if I showed you some pictures of parts of the basement? And as soon as I pulled up the first picture, she said 110%. I was in there. It was around 1980, and that's what I know from that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, in the early days of electroshock, there was no medication. There was only restraint. Electroconvulsive therapy works for patients and they do recover. However, it was not a pleasant experience for patients. Imagine you're a patient here and you're waiting in line and you're hearing this and your turn is coming. I've never experienced a thing until we got into this room. We're in this room, we're talking. I didn't lead the tour that day, someone else did. She's talking about different forms of treatment, and as she's speaking, we hear tap, 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 tap from the corner. She stops talking and it stops. We all looked at each other, what the heck was that? She starts to talk again, and it starts again. Tap, 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 faster. She stops talking and it stops.
We're going. Thank you. My name is Candace, and that's Octavia. What's your name? Investigator. Yes, you are correct. We want to talk to you. Investigating the afterlife. Can you tell me if you see me? Yes, right now? Can you show yourself to us?
Can you say your name?
Steve?
Steve, are you here with us?
Us in?
Is there more than just Steve here?
7 built.
Did you live here, Steve?
I see you.
Who do you see? You see Candace and Octavia?
Getty. Tall.
Of what?
You seem stressed.
I'm always stressed. Thank you for noticing. Is there anything that you want us to know?
Whore.
Who?
Help.
Help who? Can you say your name? Can you light up any of these balls?
C.
Which one?
Middle.
Light up the middle one. That one's green. Can you light the green ball? They told us that this place was not abusive.
Snake.
Who?
Nothing.
Were you abused here?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Say when. Come in.
No. No, thank you.
Ah.
No, no, thank you.
Under.
Under what? If you say under the bed, I'm out.
Escape.
Are you trying to escape? I feel like I'm invading your space.
Yes.
I am invading your space. Is there anything you need to tell us? Anything we should know?
In life.
In general.
Elsie. Oh my God, we're getting so many names.
And we got names earlier too.
Yeah. No questions. But that's what I'm here for. Can you smell things? Like if somebody would burn something in the kitchen, can you smell it?
Circumstances. Jen.
Jen. We've got Jen, George, Johnny. Oh. Where? Drinking. I do have a drink. Who's Jen? Is Jen a spirit that's here?
Anybody in there want to come to one of the open windows?
During our tour, Mark was telling us a story about two girls who had gotten in a fight. And there was a girl named Nettie that had choked during it and nobody had noticed. Is she here? Nettie, are you here? Nettie, are you here? Can you say your name?
What? Say that again.
Are you trying to say something?
Please.
Do you feel stuck here?
Ow.
Why are you saying hurt? Ow, are you hurt?
Yep.
How are you hurt?
You don't.
Whoever's speaking to us right now, how did you die here?
Jeanette.
Nettie, this is you? Jeanette, is that your full name?
Bad.
Nettie, if this is you, can you say choke or say how you died?
Jeff.
Is Jeff the one who hurt you, or is Jeff a different person that's trying to speak to us? Jeanette, are you the person that Mark was talking about who choked on a piece of food when there was a fight going on?
Stop. No.
Were you telling
What?
them to stop and no, and they didn't listen?
Steve. Steve.
Jeanette, are you talking about a Steve, or is it Steve? If it is a Steve, can you let it up to red? So Jeanette, you're talking.
Steve.
You're talking.
Steve. It's saying Steve like 4 times. Steve.
Steve. I'm getting chills.
Steve.
Jeanette, are you talking about a Steve?
Don't. Don't, Steve.
Can I talk to Steve? Steve is here. Can you move one of these balls? Could you say your name into that silver?
Oh. I said, Steve.
What about Steve? Is Steve living or dead?
Steve.
What are you trying to tell us about Steve? We need more words than just his name.
Hello?
Hello? Are you looking for Steve?
I can't. Steve. Again.
You can't find Steve? Is that who you're looking for? No? Is that who you're trying to get away from? Are you trying to get away from Steve?
No. That was weird.
Right?
What are you asking?
Was it a female or a male voice? Because Jeanette,
I keep saying,
Nettie is short for Jeanette.
I keep saying Steve, Steve, and I go in different voices.
So weird. I'm like, what
It's
about
like Steve, and then I said, don't.
Staying at the Richardson Hotel in Buffalo is a fantastic idea, especially if you're interested in the history of the nearby insane asylum, like we were. The hotel itself is a beautifully restored architectural gem with a history that complements the intriguing stories of the asylum. You might find a few curious spirits stopping by to watch you or even to greet you to say hello. If you're interested in exploring the history of the Buffalo Insane Asylum, I highly recommend taking a tour. The tour guide is incredibly knowledgeable and provides fascinating insights into the asylum's history, architecture, and its role in mental health care. You'll learn about the unique stories of its residents and the significant events that shaped its legacy. It's a captivating experience that combines education with a glimpse into the past. Perfect for history buffs and anyone curious about mental health evolution. Also perfect for people ghost hunting in the hotel wanting to know the stories of the asylum.